All right, guys, so welcome to Social Studies today. So we are going to be looking at Brown versus education. So our AKS for today is explain the government of Georgia's response to Brown versus Board of Education, including 1956 flag of the Sibley Commission. So, anytime in history that we study a court case, that's going to mean that something is changing. So your job is to figure out, let's look here. Your job to figure out today with Brown versus Board of Education is, what is it? It was a court case, right? So I want you to figure out everything that's in red. So what happened in this case? What changed? Something had to have changed or we wouldn't be studying it in history. So what was the purpose of, what was the people's response? Okay, so when I'm talking about people, I want to focus more on government, but you can also tell me individual if it's mentioned in your text. So now, lastly, what did the flag represent? So what did the flag? Something is going to happen with the flag in response to this court case. Your job again is to tell me what was the aim, what was the goal, okay? So before you get started, I'm gonna start on a little vocabulary, okay? So when we look, I want you to copy this down in your notebook. The first thing we're gonna start with is 1956 state flag, okay? So I'm gonna read you the definition, and then you can put it in your own words and help me formulate a definition. All right, so 1956 state flag. It was a controversial flag that flew over Georgia from 1956 to 2001. The flag was controversial due to flag's prominent Confederate battle emblem, okay? So, it was a controversial flag. Why was it controversial? I said due to what? What kind of emblem? What did they up in response? You had the Union Army and the, starts with the C, Confederate. So, if we think back to Civil War, we know that the Union and the Confederate were the two sides. This was a war where we were fighting each other within our country. And we were fighting for something. What were we fighting for? To end what? Speak up. To end slavery, right? So what side was the Confederate on? Did they want to end slavery or keep slavery here? Keep it. The Confederate, they wanted to keep it. So, why do you think that they would put up a Confederate sign, a Confederate emblem on the flag? They were trying to say something in response to that court case, okay? So that probably almost makes you understand without even going through the text of what was going on, okay? So, this was a controversial used in response to the Brown versus Board of Education. So it ended it in public school. Make sure you're putting this in your notebooks, okay? The last one is the Sibley Commission. Yeah. All right, so the Sibley Commission investigation by lawyer John Sibley to determine what should be done about the integration in the state. Though 60% of Georgians claim they would rather close the public schools than to integrate. Sibley recommended that public schools desegregate on a limited basis. Okay, on a limited basis. So how could we word that one to make it shorter? Maybe we could put something about lawyer John Sibley investigated best ways or best practices for desegregating schools in Georgia. Sibley Commission was where the lawyer John Sibley investigated the best ways to desegregate schools in Georgia, and the best way that he found to do so was to do it in a limited basis, meaning that we start very slow. We start very slow. All right, so the last thing I want you guys to look at is I want you to look up here. Pause on your vocabulary quickly. So we're going to look, this was the flag before this stuff happened, okay? This was Georgia's flag, okay? So once that ruling came in and the state of Georgia lost and they could not continue to desegregate, but this was all over the United States. But Georgia was not happy. Y'all know what the Confederate flag looks like? Okay. This is what they did in response. So I just have one question. What do you think that they were trying to tell the people?
That they wanted segregation.
That they wanted segregation, and I don't agree. And no matter what they say, this is who we are as a state, okay? So, of course, you know, this caused a lot of controversy. A lot. That remained the flag from 1956. That's when that took place, right? Into 2001. And a lot of people fought. And so then it was changed here to this. Governor Barnes changed it. And then this is our present flag from 2004 until now. Okay? All right. Thank you. Cut.
All right. So, Crystal, give me the gist of what your lesson was about.
It was an introduction into the civil rights movement and just getting students familiar with some of the vocabulary terms and some of the major events that took place.
Okay. So I did see that you used your easel and you did some like an anchoring chart, and you used students' input to kind of help you write your definition. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about how you felt the lesson went. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst lesson that you taught and 10 being the best, how would you rank this lesson?
Maybe about a 5 or 6 because it was just basic, wasn't too engaging. It was more of them sitting and getting, so it was more teacher-led than student-led.
More teacher-led than student-led? Okay. What did you like about your lesson?
That I feel that they were able to really, I like to front load the students with vocabulary. So I feel that today, when we went over the vocabulary in class, that they retained it because they were going off of the definitions that they had that they created, opposed to trying to memorize my definitions.
Were they created their own? Perfect. What would have changed? What do you think you need to do in order to get it to a 10, or what do you think needs to happen for you to feel like it was a 10?
Make it more engaging so it's more enjoyable. I was thinking about using quizzes or Quizlet to do the vocabulary piece with it. They seem to just enjoy that more. And that is more, I see my students who are disengaged, those that, because some of them, they just wrote the definition after someone else had given me feedback. So it makes sure that I don't miss those students.
Okay, so accountability too, in a sense.
For everyone,
yeah. So it sounds like you would like to use a bit more technology so that you can see more engagement from the students, and that what else would you like? So accountability, engagement. Where do you want this lesson to go next?
I just want the students to enjoy it. So we'll go into that deeper, each one of those things, and talk about them. Because like I said, that was just an intro telling them what it is. So then, for example, they'll study Brown versus education. So they'll have an article and we'll look at some images and different things like that. And they'll, tell me what they think is going on.
Okay. And so then when you're measuring their success, with what you just mentioned, is this going to be a project that they're doing? Are they going to be just doing a test? How are you going to assess it, or how are you going to measure it?
Well, the interim test will how to be measured.
Okay.
But, just master of AKS is the goal with enjoyment.
So if you feel like you hit the goals of accountability, student mastery, student engagement, would this lesson matter more to you?
Yes.
Okay. So you mentioned using quizzes. What other teaching strategies do you think you can use to hit your goal?
I like using quizzes and Quizlet. I also like to use, I'm trying to think.
Okay. So quizzes, Quizlet. Have you considered possibly Nearpod? Because they do have those vocabulary matching.
I have used that before, but I didn't think about it. That would be something.
Another thing, I noticed that when you were doing the flags, could they do like a notice and wonder on Nearpod where they kind of just give their insight and take observations of what they like?
That would be perfect.
Okay. All right. So what are your next steps as far as engagement, as far as accountability? Where do you want to take this next?
I'm incorporating some technology in to, reiterate the points that have been taught and to, for the enjoyment and engagement.
Okay. Now, how long is this unit gonna take? Because I'm thinking I can do a little bit of research and see what tools might be beneficial if you're interested in that.
Definitely. So a week.
Okay, so a week. So we're gonna just look at quizzes are you thinking quizzes for the accountability, or as far as like an assessment before the interms? Okay. Perfect. Well, I will definitely do some research, give you some tools as far as the accountability piece. and then the engagement, and we'll see how that works, and we'll go from there.
I'm excited. Thank you.
You are welcome.